Good morning all, welcome back to Sew Granny Sew. Today we are going to be doing another star block and I have selected my fabrics here. This is the star, it's called the Simplex star, and it's very easy, so very beginner friendly. So what we have is we have the beige with the green vine for the background. We have some blue with some purple and pinkish color hydrangeas and some green leaves, and they are like dual color. And then we have what looks like a batik, but I'm not so sure it's a batik, uh, in a dark green and a little bit lighter, the same tone. It does have a print on it. If I find the print to be too much, I'll turn it over so it lightens that print a little bit. It comes across really sharp on the camera. It's not so sharp in person. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this. I did make up some rolls for my star blocks now. I have this big basket of scrap fabric. It's smaller than a fat quarter, but too big for my crumb quilting and probably too big for my applique. So I am going to only be pulling fabrics from this basket for my star blocks. Trying to stay with the colors of the tans and the greens and the purplish color, such as the star block we made yesterday. So let's go ahead and get started and see what kind of bonus block we can come up with today. So I have our square all laid out here, but I forgot I didn't give you sizes yet. So all I get when I go to hunt down a star is a picture. So I just figure out, I know I want my blocks to be in between like 8 and 9 because I am going to trim them all out to make them a 10-inch square. So I cut these ones because they are would have been 3-inch squares. So by the time you allow for your seam allowance, I would have put it down to 8. So I went ahead and cut it with 3 1/4. So I know I'm going to get at least 8 1/2 on that. So we got 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 on each square. So we have 4 in the dark color, 5 in the light color, and then these are actually squares here, as shown in the beginning, and they are it shows in the picture more of a dark tone. I would think any color, whatever you want your star to be. So we need 4 of those as well. As you can see, I got them laid out. We are going to make 4 half square triangles. All you're going to do for that is open those squares up. I'm just going to use the background fabric because it's the lightest. We're going to go point to point. Go ahead and draw your line. We'll make sure we got that lined up. We'll pin that together. And when we go to sew, we're going to sew right beside that line, like just a hair away from it. Make sure it's on if you got a side you'd rather have on your star. Make sure it's on so it opens up to that side, and then sew on the opposite side of that line. So I'm going to go ahead and get all my stars marked out and get them sewn together. I will iron those open and then I will meet you back here. I have them all sewn together and ironed flat. So now after that, you want to take these, and this is a repeat for those who follow. However, if somebody just happens to view this video only, this way they know how to get this cut off. So you have your seam line right there and your 1/4 inch mark on your ruler. You want to go ahead and line those up together. Take your rotary cutter and trim those down. Do not throw these away because we do a bonus block with those. And then we just open that back up. Okay, so all of our blocks are ready. So now we can go ahead and start sewing them together. I did already trim these up for the sake of time. So to sew them all together, we're just going to flip those over. And we will chain stitch with a 1/4 inch seam all the way down. Remember, if you're sewing something like this, you'll want to start at this end. That way you're not starting off with that. The machine will grab it and kind of make it stay right there under the needle. The feed dogs catch on that kind of stuff. So we'll go ahead and start at this end to sew that one. When we get that done, we'll open them up, iron them flat, come back, and then we'll join this side in the same way, all the way up with a 1/4 inch seam. And then we'll come back and I'll show you how to put the rows together. Have our rows together, and I just wanted to point out when ironing, of course, do that one towards the middle, that one away from in the middle, and then that one towards the middle. Our seams will nest when we go to sew it together. I did just want to show you what we figured out for the small bonus block. We have windmills. So once you sew these halves or these triangles together, you're just going to run them through the machine one after another without cutting thread. And you'll have your 1/4 inch seam there. Then when you iron them flat, you're going to have these little dog ears. So we'll just trim those off with the scissors. And then we will sew our blocks together for these as well as we're sewing this together. So in order to sew this together, you're just going to flip that over, nest those seams. So you're going to have one on one side, one on the other. You're going to push forward with your thumb and backwards with your finger, and you can feel them seams lock into place. And then you're just going to throw a quick pin in there. And you're going to do that on the other side as well. Okay, so when you get gaps in your fabric like that, when you put it on the sewing machine, you're just going to pull slightly. If you got a great big gap, you know, with a lot of fabric in there, you're going to have to redo your seams. But this here, you can manipulate the fabric as you're sewing. Your feed dogs are going to pull it. So you want to put the tautest one, the shortest one on the bottom. And then when you're sewing, you can pull back and it'll space this out a little bit. So we'll go ahead and we will sew that together with a 1/4 inch seam. Iron that open, and we'll come back and connect the other one the same way with the same 1/4 inch seam. So I'll get that done. I'll iron it flat. I'll get this together and iron it flat, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, on our bonus block, I wanted to show those that are just joining in. We do this. So this is what it looks like after we got our rows put together with just a 1/4 inch seam. Then we iron them flat, and we iron the seams in opposite directions. So then we have 2 rows like that. So this is what our windmill will look like. But when we go to nest these together, you want to find, I got to make sure you're in the camera here, that exact point on that part of the windmill there. So once you have that exact point, then you can find the exact one on this one. And that is how you're going to line up those seams to make sure that your point on your windmill turns out perfect. Well, as perfect as possible. So then we're going to go ahead and push that through, and then we'll just take a 1/4 inch seam there again. We have our blocks together. I was going to trim this up for you so you can see how you do that. However, I have a little mistake. As you can see, these lines right here don't quite match up. So I am going to take that apart and redo this part. So I'm not going to line that one up, but that is the shape of our star. Very simple, great beginner star to work with. You can do different variations of these to make all different kinds of stars out of this basic one. On this, I will show you how to square up on these. So this is our windmill star block. I just love the windmill. They're so nice to work with. So when I square these up, I mean, if you got a square like this one, it fits, you could actually do this as a 4.5 inch block and just cut around it. But I'm doing this in general to show you. So when your shorter fabric is here and this is wider, you're going to go with your shortest fabric. And all I do is when I have that up with the shortest fabric, I'll take a line and match up what's going across. So I see that it's right there at that mark. So I'm going to make sure that that line is going all the way along right there with the center seam, because then you know that it'll come out okay. And we just trim that up. And that'll work with the inside block. That way, if you don't have a square the size of the block you're making, you can just do it with your straight ruler to line that up. So there's our blocks for today. And this is what our block from yesterday looked like. So it will work fine in the same quilt. I love the different tones. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. And as always, if you found this video useful, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, because it really helps our channel grow. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe, because we'd love to have you here at Sew Granny Sew. Thanks all. Have a good day. Bye.